Hey everyone, welcome to Kayfabe6ix. This is Mike, and I'm here with Dan. We're actually going to be reviewing and recapping Raw from yesterday, which was the April 13th edition from the O2 Arena in London, England. So Dan, just your quick thoughts, I guess, overall the show.
You know what? It had its ups and downs for me. There's some matches I love. There's some matches that didn't make any sense to me. I don't
Hmm.
know. It was. I'm a little disappointed because you know what? I had such high hopes after the Raw, after WrestleMania,
Right.
and even last week was a little bit better. But then it's back to their old antics again for me.
I totally agree. I feel like it's losing steam, but we're gonna get into all that right now. So let's start at the top of the show, and of course the great part about when they go to the UK in generals is you know you're gonna get a hot crowd,
Absolutely.
and
Like
and it, and
they're either gonna murder you or they're gonna love you. There's no in between with that crowd. It's awesome.
yeah, exactly. And at the time of us watching it, I didn't even think of the fact that there was a chance that the WWE was going to be editing the audio, and we later found out that they did, and it's so obvious that they did. So unfortunately, it's going to kind of alter our review a bit because we're not necessarily sure what crowd reactions were legit and which ones not so much.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get into it. So with the hot UK crowd, they decided to start to show off with John Cena, and he got a reaction that we would have expected, being in over there in London, with
John
the
Cena
crowds.
sucks.
Sucks, yeah. Singing John Cena sucks along to his theme. John took it in stride, obviously, and by the time he hit the ring, he let them get out whatever they wanted to chant, and it didn't take him more than about a minute before he was able to turn them and have them in the palm of his or have them in the palm of his hands by referring to him getting in trouble for mentioning that WrestleMania should be at some point in England. I thought it was kind of hilarious because it's crazy how all John has to do is spit that one line that sort of caters to the crowd, and then he can flip them in a matter of seconds. And I know that most people look at it as a Mick Foley cheap pop, but hey, if you're gonna boo him, then boo him the whole way. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. And even he wasn't the only one that had to go to those tactics last night, right? So,
Mm,
like,
for
Reigns
sure.
did it as well in his own way, but
So we got another one of the open challenges, which I'm really starting to enjoy. The one thing I love about it is it makes me sort of reminds me of back in the WCW days when you knew you were going to get a TV title match, but you always knew you were going to get a good cruiserweight division match. It was always sort of sectioned in the same part of the show, and I'm kind of feeling that way with the John Cena matches. You know you're going to actually get a good 10 to 15 minute match to open up the show now, and I really like it because as much as there's things that John Cena does that sort of irritate me and some of the custom and traditional and quote unquote vintage spots that you always see, the matches have turned out to be pretty damn good.
absolutely.
And
Like every single one I've loved, and even this one, Wayne Barrett, you got to give the guy credit, like, because
mm,
he did really well last night, and even then he had a lot of good spots, and then with the Cactus Jack shout out where he does the bang bang on the
mhm.
apron and jumped off and did the what's called the flying elbow, and like it was a really entertaining, fun match.
Yeah, and Barrett himself, like we were talking about before, he looks great physically. He looks like he's in the best shape that I've seen him in or remember him being in.
Absolutely, yeah, he's come back from injury like with a force, man. Like,
Yeah. So he went for the bullhammer, and I believe that got, I don't know, countered somehow into Cena's new combo spot, which seems to be the springboard stunner into
they
the.
have no clue what to call it yet. Like they're like, oh, Cena with his maneuver that he's landed the last couple of weeks, and they finally called it a springboard stunner. I think they may have said last night. I'm not sure. It's
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm referring it to because I'm pretty sure that's what they had said, and he combos that into his attitude adjustment for the win. The match itself was pretty decent, and then that led to Rusev or Lana coming out,
mm,
and Rusev being attacked by John with a chain, which we now have been told is the new stipulation for the match. A lot of people weren't actually sure what that meant, so the WWE, I believe they clarified today, which is the two of them will be strapped together by a chain. So it's basically a strap match with a
yeah,
chain,
with the
basically.
chain. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. You know what? It's we haven't seen that kind of that stipulation in so long. It's very old school. It's very vintage.
So I wanted to ask you how you felt now. We knew there was going to be a match at Extreme Rules. We know there's a stipulation. I mean, I find this is one of those rubber matches that don't even really matter because chances are Rusev is not going to win, and then he's probably going to be out of the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And does that make you feel any type of way about it? The fact that this guy, he either should have just, now he's being put into a third match and he's not going to regain the title.
Yeah, it's almost pointless. Like it goes back to that whole point that, John Cena shouldn't have been the one to end Rusev's streak, right?
Mm, yeah. Um, so that brings us now to the Divas Battle Royal, which was arguably the quickest battle royal I think I've ever
It
seen.
was tiny. Like I would have I know they're overseas right now and they're not gonna bring like a bunch of divas for like a single match, but at least fill the ring with 20 divas or something, or even the whole like them not being after like there were eliminations of like divas being rolled underneath the bottom rope. Like I
Yeah.
know like they don't have enough muscle mass to deal with being thrown over the top rope and slamming onto the ground, but at least middle or bottom rope, like come on, like it's just half ass.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to respect them as workers and stuff, and I do. I just wish you can't be eliminated from underneath the rope. I think that's just a little much for me,
No,
the under the rope
exactly.
ones. So Paige won that,
Yeah.
and then she was interviewed by Saxton, and then got essentially blindsided by Naomi, which was the start of her heel turn, um, which we'll get to later with the promo that she
Yeah.
dropped. So that was that, and then that brought us next to the Bray promo.
Yeah.
I usually have an inkling, and most people do. I have no idea who he's talking about in these promos
Yeah,
at
this
all.
one's
Like,
a little weird. He talks about like the love, talks about love and replacing love with fear. It's really strange, and he's really good at these promos. Like really,
do you think it's about him going after? Oh, excuse me, guys. Do you think it's about him going actually after a specific wrestler, or do you think it's about maybe turning a couple wrestlers into his new sort of family? I really, I don't know.
um, I personally for me, I would hope that like I would hope for B, but I think A is the more likely possibility, right?
And do you think that's a Cena? Do you think they're gonna put Bray like in a U.S. title? Like they're kind of just gonna have him drop these promos for the next month or so, and then he'll start a program with Cena again. I really don't. I don't know if it could be Bryan. They've had their thing, and it's obviously not the main title scene.
Yeah.
But usually, if they're gonna have him dropping these promos, there's gonna be some sort of importance. I really don't know. I'm sort of curious to see what people think. I haven't looked up online to see what people think. Have you read anything on sort of the rumors
I
of who
have.
or?
The points are going towards either Cena, Bryan, or Triple H, or even like Ziggler is another name that randomly came up. I don't know. I'm thinking it could be Bryan or Cena. Like just thinking like
The last two. I
the
don't.
love of wrestling and turning that into fear. Like I'm not sure if like I don't know if like say if they eventually or hopefully break up the Bellas and Bree is somewhat involved with Bryan, and then Bray goes after Bryan, and you know what I mean, that very typical Undertaker style of you know what I mean going after the girl, like the I don't know. I'm very curious to
Yeah.
see where it's gonna go for me.
Me too. I just always find it funny when a guy like Bray he loses a match and a big match,
Mhm.
and then like a week later he's dropping these promos like nothing ever happened. You know what I mean?
No,
Like he just goes back to it's sort of like that sort of drunk uncle, right? It's gonna get for me. It's gonna get to the point where people are just like, shut up already. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know it's true.
Like we're not buying it,
Oh
man. You
man,
did this last time, lost
here
to
goes Uncle
Cena.
Bray again, just talking
Yeah.
random shit.
Oh, just is this Uncle Ray talking again?
That's
Let's just like
Uncle.
just ignore him, kids. Like I fear that that's the point. Is if it hasn't already gone to that point, it's feeling it's getting to that point, right?
Yeah.
Where these things aren't gonna. If he's not gonna start winning these matches, and he's only gonna win the matches that lead into these big matches, it's not gonna matter anymore.
No,
Like
it's true,
it's
and
just
it's really unfortunate because Bray Wyatt is the future of the WWE, but yet the WWE continues to like. Okay, Undertaker was one thing because obviously they're setting up for his last WrestleMania to be next year, and Undertaker can't lose two WrestleManias in a row, or maybe he could have and won the big one in Texas, but they could have let Cena lose to Bray. Like
Cena should have lost to
Cena should
Bray,
have
yeah,
lost to
last time.
Bray. Yeah,
Yeah. Even if it was some sort of interference, he should have lost.
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like even if it was like Harper and Rowan giving him the beats or something like that, or something crazy happens where Bray does some, ridiculousness out of, whatever he can do with his lantern or whatever, or another family member, whatever, right? Like
Something. Yeah.
he he should have, or how he had all those kids that one time.
Oh, that
Uh,
was probably like one of my favorite promos in recent years. Like that is like on a completely different level of darkness. Like the little kids singing like, oh man, that was just ridiculous.
I look back and I think that would have been great for WrestleMania if that kid was doing it, that singing. It would have been creepy, and John would have been sort of really confused, and Bray could have caught him sleeping with like a school. Even though I hate schoolboy wins, he could have caught him with a quick one. You know what I mean? He would have got the win. Cena could have just been like he was, completely preoccupied, and that would have
Well,
been
yeah,
it. But
because the
for him,
cool thing with the schoolboy, it kind of is. It's not a completely dirty finish, but it's
yeah, the guy
not
can just brag about the win, but at the same time, the other guy didn't take this finisher and wasn't like laid out flat. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Sometimes. But whatever, that's so far removed now. So I guess we'll have to just find out who it is he's talking about. So that brought us next to Lucha Dragons versus the Ascension. I actually missed this match. Do you have any
Oh man,
comments regarding it?
you know what? It was you're gonna get a good laugh off this one. It was such a quick match to the point that the Ascension's face paint looked perfect after the match. We know how terrible that face paint is. How quickly Stardust face paint comes off in 5 minutes. Like that's
Yeah,
how
yeah,
quick it was. It's really disappointing for me because for a number of things. One, it was very sloppy work from Kalisto. He did not hit his those trademark moves as cleanly as he usually does.
hmm
And then to make matters worse, it was the exact same script as their last couple of matches, where you have Sin Cara starting off, takes a bit of a beating, Kalisto comes in, goes crazy, does his Selena del Sol, tags Sin Cara. Sin Cara does the Swanton.
yeah. I feel like
Match
they're
done.
just gonna. I feel like they're gonna run these guys out pretty quickly. You know what I
I
mean?
think it would be terrible because I really can see a great match between them and Kid and Cesaro. But it's just a matter of them really putting them into proper matches that have a purpose, like saying this is for the number one contenders, or like make some sort of a tag team tournament to determine the number one contenders, and then bring them back in for Extreme Rules. Or they're like this hype train. One more match like this, and I have zero interest in them.
Yeah, it's gonna be very
Like
cookie cutterish. I find like it's gonna be like Kalisto comes in with a hot
oh,
tag, does his three spots, and then
yeah, it was so disappointing because I was like you know me, I'm an NXT guy. I love when NXT wrestlers come up and like you know what I mean shine, right? Fortunately,
yeah,
Ascension
for
couldn't
sure.
do the same, but hey, it is what it is. There, you do your job, and it's the bookers that fail you, right? So
Yeah, most definitely. So that led us into the Roman Reigns interview with Booker T, which I was really surprised they got Booker T to do it because I don't think Booker is really good at leading these things. Again, I didn't want to talk much about the crowd because I don't know what was altered or what wasn't. I figured if it was altered, his pop would have came out a lot louder, but I guess they had nothing to work with because it didn't. It was very meh. And I think that's the worst part. If Reigns was getting full on booze, that'd be great. But he's now getting those very lukewarm, I don't really care reactions now, and that's not good either. That's worse than getting booze, regardless if he was a guy they were trying to push. And
no, it's do or die now with the heel turn. It has to happen. It
yeah, I
has
mean
to happen.
they should have been Renee in there, even Brian Saxton, anyone really. It shouldn't. I don't think it should have been Booker,
No,
but whatever.
Booker did
I'm not
exactly what he did.
with what.
Sorry, but yeah, Booker did exactly what he always does and just got on Reigns nuts. Like absolutely,
Yeah,
like it was like you look good. It was like, dude, chill out, man. Like,
yeah, and it's
God,
and it
I don't
and
know.
and
Like it's
and I was making a joke on Twitter, like this is like the Roman Reigns recovery tour, where basically, they're gonna have him addressing his like, how long are we gonna address this WrestleMania loss? Like, I can't think of another superstar who lost at WrestleMania and was talking about it 3 weeks after the fact. Like, or 2 weeks rather. Like, okay, you lost. Like now we get an interview, we get a sit down interview, we get another interview. It's like, is this a way of him showing basically that he understands that he lost to Brock, and is he always going to play along with what the crowd says? Like the crowd started chanting, Suplex City, and he's like he acknowledged it, and that's good. But the whole promo reeked of Cena. The whole promo, everything he said reeked of something that would come out of Cena's mouth. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's the route we're going to get with Roman. And then to make matters worse, we had to sit through another one of these Roman-esque, pity me beatdowns with the Big Show. And it's like, and I feel like that's what we're going to be seeing now at Roman for a bit. We're just going to keep seeing him get laid out for weeks and him going through those mannerisms like he did when he faced Brock at WrestleMania. This woe is me, like I'm about to die, which again, he did great at WrestleMania. I'm not going to go back on my word. He did great. But that's not something I want to see every single week. This was a guy that had Big Show's number. He was beating the hell out of him for the whole of 2014. Now suddenly it's like he's getting caught off guard and getting, slammed through, vehicles now. It's like, man, like, oh my goodness. I don't know. What did you think about it?
Uh, Hold on. Actually, Mike, can you do a playback on that? I was just curious. I realized I should have had my headphones plugged in the whole time.
Okay, I paused the recording. What?
Sorry. Can you just play the recording back? I just want to see how it sounded. Yeah, you know what? For me, it's like you said. We're not stupid. We know what happened last year. They already had a schedule together. Why bring it back and act like nothing's happened? It's terrible booking. Like personally, like Big Show is like old Yeller. Just take him out to the back and just get rid of him already because it's true. Like
Yeah.
what is there to do with this guy? Okay, like he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, retire him, give it like what else is there? Like
He's become like that filler now for when a superstar doesn't have anything going on. That's sort of when, they bring in Show.
pretty much, yeah. And uh it's I don't know. I'm kind of happy to see that like WWE's Golden Boy is having to now face the Big Show, but it's a real shame. It's a real shame. If they did everything right the first time, they would not need to have Reigns versus Big Show. And that's most likely where it's going. Hopefully, they'll put them in a decent stipulation that will make up for like what will probably be a terrible match.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like I have zero hope for these two in the ring, like none whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want this over and done with. So that brings us now to the Orton match, which I had no idea he was facing Cesaro. So I was really
I
amped
was
when I heard.
so excited when this match started, and then I almost started drinking after when the DQ happened.
Yeah,
Like that was such a waste. And then we found out Kane comes out and says, no, the match isn't going to go like this, and turns it into a handicap match. Before we dive into that, Mike, what do you think about that? Like, would you have rather have stuck with the DQ, or did you like the handicap match?
no, I don't
Yeah, I
because
hated it so much, man.
there's no. I mean, I don't care if Orton faced two other guys that were a tag team, but not the champs. Like, what does that say? Like that these guys are good tag team champions against other tag teams. When they face a superstar singles wrestler, they can't beat him.
Yeah, it's
That's
true. It was
crazy.
terrible booking, and the worst part is there's so many other tag teams that aren't necessarily doing anything that, like, even if they brought in the New Day, like bring in like
Even Ascension,
even
or even freaking
it's
Ascension,
true.
like
Even the
anyone. You know what I
Ascension, even
mean? Like,
saying the Ascension from even but like the say them right from the beginning of the night, it's a handicap match because it goes in line with Kane being what I mean the being the main one of the guys for the Authority, trying to stick it to Randy. But yeah, man, like it just made the tag team titles look worse. And like, sorry to jump into like the future here, but and I looked up the spoilers for SmackDown. They did it again on SmackDown.
yeah,
Whereas
that's crazy.
Bryan and Cena beating the tag team champions one more time clean. Like I don't get me wrong. I love that they have to build up Randy Orton, and I like that little, what I mean. If Orton wins, he determines a stipulation. If Rollins wins, he gets to pick a stipulation. It was cool. It was different, but there's a massive locker room of guys that you did not have to sacrifice your tag team champions like that.
Yeah, it's not a good look, right? You know what I mean? Like these are two guys that should have essentially obliterated him, not even just in power, but just in coordination and teamwork. There's no reason like, and you can't have them getting into a I don't know animosity between each other in the match where Orton capitalizes on it, but he just beat them clean. Like it's crazy to me. like,
Absolutely, it was.
but the RKO spot was cool, definitely.
Yeah, it was that CM Punk style RKO to some degree, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't too
Uh,
bad. But no, and then they did what they did again. They did the same thing that they always do, where someone does a finisher in a match, and and there's no pinfall out of it. Like they had Cesaro do the big uppercut, and nothing happened of it. And it's just like, come on, guys! Like it's
yeah.
I hated
They
it.
could have picked. They could have picked any other two guys. Shouldn't have been them. So that brought us now to Rose and Ambrose. I don't know if there's even a point talking about that. Um, quick win for Ambrose. I think it was just a reason to get Rose out there. Do you have any comments on that? Because I don't.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it was one of those moments that even I think last night I literally went to the bathroom as the match started, came back, and it was done. Like it was.
Yeah. So then that then brought us to Fandango and Stardust, which seems to have been a match just to get Fandango to dance to his old music.
Yeah, no, considering he hasn't really had much time on the main roster lately, it really did catch me off guard. It was a strange one, but what even surprised me even more was just how much the crowd loved the guy.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't, that was clearly like you saw the crowd doing the dance and everything. Like you couldn't say that was an audio change up or anything, right? But
Mhm.
that was ridiculous, man.
It reminds me of that Raw a few years ago after he beat Jericho and came out to the crowd, which at the time I believe was UK heavy too. So in Jersey, right? I forget. But yeah, I mean, it seemed like just a way to get him to, I don't know, get those cheers that he hadn't from them in a while. Whatever, forgettable. So moving on.
Sure.
So I didn't read any of the spoilers. I had completely forgot it was in the UK, so I didn't know that any of the stuff that had already happened and things were leaking. But when I saw the buildup of Kane and the Authority and Seth in the beginning of the show, I was saying to my, I tweeted about, oh, what a great opportunity this would be to have like a one night only with Daniel Bryan. Not thinking anything would even happen. I kind of just thought that. I kind of honestly just in my own fantasy world that at the end Bryan would come out and they would clean house together and have their one moment, and that would have been that. So I kind of marked out a bit when I saw Bryan approach Kane
Mhm.
and talk to him about his decisions and stuff like that, and about laying down, and that's not the Kane that he knew and stuff.
Yeah.
And I honestly did not know that at all. I had no idea they were even going to interact, so it
Oh,
was kind
that
of
was
cool.
pretty cool. And you know what? To be honest
Yeah.
with you, like the Rollins Kane match, we can rip into it shortly, but I like the build up. How you had the thing with J&J Security and like the Big Show, then Bryan. Like it was a nice little mini storyline before the match.
I mean, we've seen this sort of tension underlying already
Yeah.
when he did the match the last week, and it had Seth get into a tiffy about the whole Brock thing,
Sure.
and or a few weeks ago rather now, and it's. I mean, I know that there's got to be a blow off at some point, but I don't know. I don't know where they're actually going to go with this at all with Kane, because at some point they're going to have to officially turn him. And obviously he snapped on Seth, and it's just funny to me that Kane's a guy that wants to actually do what's best for business. Like it's not actually just a tagline, where he actually does. And at first you don't think he's actually doing that, but now it's like he actually is trying to do what's best for
Mhm.
business, which I find kind of funny. Um,
It is. It's an interesting dynamic because, like, I remember when the whole switch happened, where he gave the mask to Stephanie and then said, "I'm under your control," or whatever the case it would be. And he's really like, so you got to give the guy credit. He has ran with the whole being a member of the Authority, but I think last night was not even with the choke slam to Rollins, but even like the whole electrocute, threatening to electrocute Noble's testicles with a car battery. Like I was joking
yeah,
around on Twitter, like, "Oh man, clearly Kane is reading 50 Shades of Grey." But it
yeah,
was only after when I was talking to some people back and forth was that this could have been like a little bit of like a teaser to him going back to the dark, like that really dark side of Kane we saw in his program with Shane McMahon, where he actually did do that to Shane.
mm,
So I don't know if like I have a really good feeling we're gonna see the dark Kane come back, like, and just completely wreak havoc on the WWE.
yeah. And it's strange because. Oh, it's funny at the same time because you have a guy like Big Show who probably has, the number one record for face heel turns. But I guess it seems that uh Kane is right there if he's gonna turn face again or whatever they're gonna do with him.
Yeah, it's true. It's strange. It's like the big guys, they have no clue what to do with them sometimes.
Mhm. So pretty much he eventually down to Seth, and that was that, and we moved on. Um,
Yeah, it
so
was weird. Like I was expecting the lay down. I was hoping they weren't gonna do like that. What I mean, Hulk Hogan, Kevin
finger
Nash.
pointed doom,
Yeah,
finger pointed
exactly. Like
doom. Yeah.
JBL made a comment, like made a WCW reference on the commentary booth, but I don't know. It's
They definitely made it a lot more interesting than the traditional laydowns, whether it was a finger pointed doom or even when Sean laid Sean laid down to Triple H when he gave him the European title
Mhm.
that night on Raw after after the screw job.
Mm.
So it was pretty interesting to see that.
Yeah, especially like I
Them,
said, it was nice to see more context to it, where you see Kane struggling with, you know, what I
yeah,
mean,
with his own pride,
absolutely, like it
Yeah,
was,
it was
and
good.
this was all within the span of like 3 segments that they did this. Like it's been building up for weeks now, but it was still a good psychology behind it.
For sure. So Seth gets his stipulation.
Yeah,
So that brought us now to Miz and Mizdow, which I can't believe how turned off I am by this
I
feud now.
know
I feel like they've missed the boat now. I
they
don't even
really
care.
did. Like and there's no point to it anymore. Like, okay, like they really did the slow build to, Mizdow finally breaking away from the Miz, even though this has been building since Royal Rumble, essentially, right?
The match should have happened at
Yeah, the
WrestleMania. I
match
really have,
should have happened at WrestleMania. There was more than enough ammo for the match to happen at WrestleMania, but
yeah,
obviously they just want
or
to.
even the night after Raw. But I don't know why they did it last week and now this week. Like,
Yeah, and then even the
so
worst part was it was the same finish done by one and the other. Like
yeah,
the was it the schoolboy?
schoolboy.
Yeah, the schoolboy roll up. So I don't know. Like it completely turned me off. Like I don't really care what happens with these guys at Extreme Rules. Like personally, I think I'm going to be more likely to watch the Divas match and take my pee break when these two are wrestling.
Yeah.
Like that's the reality of it.
Yeah, I'm so turned off, and then now they're putting Summer Rae with him, which I guess is supposed to make a difference. But I don't know. I hope he does be able to stay credible. He's been really enjoyable in those last 3 months as Mizdow. I would hate for him to just end up being a comedy act now, since he's not really feuding or have that heel to feud with after Miz.
Mm.
So then that brought us to the the Prime Time Players promo that they've been doing on every tag team lately. And this time they picked the Los Matadors. I'm loving these skits. Like I'm actually looking forward to them now, the same way I do with the Cena matches, where I just don't know what they're gonna do, and it's always funny how they sort of mix it with. They kind of go shoot slash kayfabe, making fun of the guys as far as their actual, you know, gimmicks and stuff like that, and sort of the poking fun at it and kind of breaking the fourth wall here and there.
Absolutely.
But
No,
but
it's
I'm enjoying it.
I,
Like
I I just can't wait to see them in an actual match though at this point, right? Like
yeah.
it is cool to see them rip apart the tag team division completely, but I just want to see where they're going to slot in. Like, are they going to be in contention for a title shot? I'm not sure. Like, it's really weird with what's like the tag team division. It's interesting, but it's also really confusing with what's happening right now.
It's kind of funny too because the promos that they're cutting is almost like like when a new guy's coming to the Federation and hasn't actually debuted yet,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how it's feeling with primetime players because they're cutting these promos, but they haven't actually wrestled on Raw when they've played these
Yeah,
promos.
it's almost like they're building into like a slow reintroduction of some sort.
Reintroduction, yeah, like they're actually just gonna suddenly appear again. I don't know if they fought on SmackDown recently. Did they fight last week? I don't have to check, but at least on Raw for those, since Raw is kind of the main watch show,
Yeah, they
they just
haven't.
kind of fun. It's kind of funny to me, so it's feeling like a re debut for them. But I hope that they go somewhere with it. I'd have no problem if they were to take the titles from Cesaro and Kay, as long as it's done well and they don't get lost in a shuffle again. They've had their title runs before, and I thought they were pretty good with it
Oh yeah,
before.
they have a really good chemistry, and when
Yeah,
when they separated, I felt bad for Titus O'Neil because, the guy has the look, but it was just they
he
had no
got
clue what to
lost.
do with him.
They didn't.
They
That's
really had
true.
no clue what to do with him. But yeah, last night was another good one where I think there's a little Easter egg in there when Darren Young was like, "Oh, rainbow, my favorite color," but
Oh, right, yeah. But I'm glad that it really hasn't affected him. I'm sure he had to go through some adjustments after his announcement
no,
last
sure,
year, but
good.
it's
No,
good.
but
It's
good,
good.
good for him though, because he is a
Yeah,
talented wrestler, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
They call him the Black John Cena, which is always funny because of how
I won't even
similar
lie.
they.
When he came back, it was like when you look at the old like clips of them, he looks like a completely different person.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah, sure.
weird. Like it's like he
But it's funny seeing the side by side shots now. The two of them, they do look similar. It's kind of funny.
yeah.
So that brought us now to Ryback and Harper, which ended in a DQ. Um, And then Ambrose came down for the save. I was sort of surprised with that. I missed that match actually,
Mm.
but you said it was quick anyway too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I guess the whole Ambrose thing was to come to build up the like the power bomb on the ladder and the at WrestleMania and then the power bomb on SmackDown. But we shouldn't be surprised here because I think we called it in our analysis of the ladder match where we mentioned that there was going to be
there was going to be a good program with the last two guys on the ladder, but there's going to be some other storylines that are going to come up in the mid card title situation, right? And it feels like Dean and Harper is definitely one of those storylines coming out of that ladder match.
I actually want to get your opinion on something. I've seen a lot of talk
Shoot.
lately about Harper's work and his sort of stiffness right now. I, obviously the powerbomb at Mania was one thing, and we knew we were going to get that one spot. And I don't know if that was really any of his fault, but I saw a lot of just posted last night going into today with some of his spots with Bryan. And do you feel that he works a little too stiff? I can't say that I do. I kind of like a little bit of stiff work, but I'm wondering now if that's going to start affecting him in any sort of way, shape, or form with sort of the way he's working against some of these smaller guys.
That's the only thing for me. Like, it really does. Would I say that he's too stiff? Not necessarily, but when you put him against guys that are really fluid, like Bryan, like Ziggler, guys that are really like constantly, like not even in one spot in one time, you're gonna call the differences. But you
because the one clip I saw of him dropping Daniel on his head looked pretty rough last week.
Yeah, that was. I don't even know if that was. That just seemed like one of those like kind of freak mistakes, really, right?
Freak mistakes, yeah.
Like, I wouldn't even hold that one against him too much, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I didn't have much of an opinion myself. That's why I wanted to ask you for yours. I hadn't really noticed it.
Yeah.
I just thought he just makes everything look really brutal, and I kind of like it.
That's the thing. And it really depends on how the division's going to take shape. Is the division going to focus more on like high flying and faster movement? But either way, Harper brings a different dynamic, and he has shown that, for a big guy, he can move. Like, for his size and his mass, he definitely can move. Just people have to be realistic in like their expectations. Like, the guy's huge, man. He's not going to be able to do like moonsaults or like do some crazy springboards off of the ropes or like I don't know. No, I wouldn't say he's stiff. Like, I would say maybe by comparison, but give the big guy credit.
Now, as far as Ryback's concerned, I guess we don't know who he's facing for Extreme Rules, right?
I know, and it bugs me that there's yet to be a clear path for him.
Yeah, this is the guy's main eventing six-man tags.
And of all the guys, he's the one that the crowd is over the most right now. Not the most, but Roman's in a program already predestined with Big Show, but there's nothing happening with Ryback, a face that the crowd is really behind right now.
Legitly too, like he overcame all the Goldberg chants, and he's on a good run right now. So I'm surprised
it doesn't make any sense to me. Then it's not like there's any kind of group matches that usually happens at Extreme Rules for Ryback to be thrown into. Like, I'll be disappointed if I don't see Ryback on like the pay-per-view.
Yeah,
like I'll be really disappointed, and I'm not. And it's right now, I'm not very optimistic.
We'll probably get some sort of throwaway match with him. Who knows?
He's probably the way it looks right now, Mikey. I honestly think he's going to be the pre-show.
Yeah, very possible.
That guts is gutting me on the inside right now.
Which I'm kind of with you on that. Probably is going to be that. Oh well. I hope he's able to just keep his momentum when he has the time to shine. That he just powers through it the way he has been. So next up is one of my very few wins, which was the backstage Naomi promo. I thought that was great. It felt great.
It felt legit. Real. Yeah.
She was in kayfabe, but at the same time she was in realism about AJ leaving and how that should have opened the doors for her and Divas and this, that, and the other. And it was great. Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't like going into the whole fact of like she was in the same class in the sense that they were starting out at the exact same time, and one jumps further than the other, and she's kind of the forgotten one being used as as a valet when she was really an athlete in the whole thing with Usos versus Kid and Cesaro, right? So it's nice to see her step up and add another dynamic to like the Divas division, right? Because realistically, like, I'm getting bored of the Bellas and their Divas title run, considering Nikki doesn't really defend it. So this should create for something interesting. But for me, though, I would have liked to see this happen. Like, this would have been nice to happen like on the night of Extreme Rules, unless they're gonna create like a triple threat match between the three now, between Paige and Nikki and Naomi. What are your thoughts on that? Like, I don't know. I think the timing could have been a lot better. It seemed weird to me.
Well, for me, okay, so Naomi, she has a legit reason. She's pinned the champ twice,
Yeah.
so that's done. The battle royal, which was the four other divas, essentially seducing Kane to make that call.
Yeah.
She has every reason to be upset. What I don't like is I don't get when someone has a. It's funny too because I was talking to some guys earlier today about the whole Bret Hart storyline from '97, where before he actually started doing his anti-US rants, he was just complaining. But if you actually go back and watch it, if you watch it objectively, even not even as a Canadian, if you watch it objectively, he had every reason to complain about, like he was screwed over. He was screwed over at the cage match with Sid and blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
And I'm watching this with Naomi, and I'm not comparing hers to Brett's '97 heel run. It's just funny that it kind of happened the same day that I was talking about it. But my point remains the same with Naomi. Why is it that she has to turn heel for something that she was right about? Why did she have to? Why do they have to book her cheap shotting Paige and then sort of going off backstage to sort of further the heel run? Her points are as valid as they can be.
No, it's
So
true. Absolutely.
there's no reason for her really to be heel. She can be a face, or I know there's not many tweeners these days, but I don't like the fact that she had to go full heel for her to have this great promo. I don't think that was fair. But if that's going to keep her in the spotlight, then I'm all for it. They really did. She does have to have a new finisher, though, as far as I'm concerned. But
Oh, I hate
I
that
think
thing so much. And I ripped apart the after show on the score for that one girl, whatever the hell her name is.
the new girl,
Yeah, the new girl thinking that that's a great finisher and how much she loves it. Like
terrible.
that's like we're talking about give divas a chance and equality, and you have a chick doing a butt bump to the face. Like, come on, man.
It devalues it. But I do like the fact of having Naomi involved. She's going to be in the heel in this, great, because, it's good to see more than two people involved in the Divas title match, because traditionally it's two divas fighting over it,
Mhm.
and once in a blue moon you get another diva that just kind of comes in for other matches. So
Yeah, so you think
it's not,
you're on the same boat as me? That could be a triple
yeah,
threat, eh?
I hope so. Yeah, it'd be great.
No, they could have good chemistry, and like another person in the mix. So unfortunately, she got eliminated fairly early. That Natalia, I wish they were doing more with her, right? So it's
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was definitely it's nice to see something more than like just it was just refreshing to see that kind of a promo, especially coming from the Divas division, a bit of a pipe bomb.
And that's what I hate. You got a Raw there here, which was forgettable and definitely not a good Raw at all. But then you get these couple gems that really could have shined on a bigger show. You know what I mean? Should have been a part of a show that had a little bit more momentum. You know what I mean? I would have took that Naomi promo over that crappy 6-man main event
Mm.
from last week or the week before, or
Oh,
whatever.
okay, gotcha.
I've honestly forgot from 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like this is stuff that shouldn't get lost in the shuffle, and it probably will. Well, I don't think this will, but it should be in the show. I think it has a little bit more momentum than last night's did. And then that gets us to my other small win, or not small win, big win
That was
on
a
a really
big, yeah, man.
yeah, which was small in the sense of that there weren't many,
Sure.
but big in the sense of that it was a great match, which was Ziggler and Neville,
Oh yeah.
which was incredible, like start to finish. It was great seeing Ziggler sell for Neville. It was great to hear the commentators really, talk about how he is going to be a big deal in the future. And at the same time, it was great that they weren't giving Neville these wins because, he's only been on Raw the last 2 matches, and it's good to see him now, put on a good showing. I mean, still come up short. He still has something to learn. Ziggler's still a veteran, you know what I mean? But it was great to see that, and I look forward to seeing what they have from him in the
Absolutely.
future.
There was just so many great spots, and
That DDT, the way he sold that DDT,
absolutely, I was just
reminded me of
gonna guess
RVD. Reminds me of how RVD sold
that.
his moves.
Absolutely, like
Yeah.
that was like if we talk about how great Dolph is at selling. Neville did really well. Like yes, rather it was the super kick, that DDT, or even how he took that bro kick. Every single one he took and sold like a champion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised to hear people kind of upset that he's lost 2 matches in a row. I don't understand the logic. Here's a guy that is looking great as he's losing,
Mhm.
and no one's gonna really care about this a year, 2, 3 down the line when he's in a mid card title or main event title scene. No one's gonna give a shit about
I
the
can
fact.
actually I can side with them to some degree because you know what, as like a
Why?
fan, only as a fan of NXT, I don't know. It for me, it's like
But he's not losing to Scrubs, man. He's
he's
losing
not
to.
he isn't losing to Scrubs. I'll give you that. And like the great thing is that he's putting on a great show every single time. And if he's going to be a permanent part of the roster,
they need to figure out something to do with him quick, right? Like at least he does put on great shows, great performances, and it's something new every single time. Like that 450 splash off the guardrail was, it's impressive how someone can do that on a short and that short of a distance. But I don't know if he's just going to be in the main roster for the tour or if he's going to be permanently keeping around. Like I knew he was being promoted, but I don't know. Like it's unless he's going to be in a program with someone, then he can afford to lose. I can admit that. Like I can say I'm in the middle of you and anyone that's against it.
I'll explain why I'm 100% against people feeling that way. Okay.
Go for it.
You can't have everyone for NXT debut like the Shield. It can't happen. That was as perfect booking as you can get, and you can't do that every single time. This is why I'm on my side of it now as I look at it. He faced Seth Rollins in a decent 10-minute match. He lost and came out looking great. He faced Dolph Ziggler, another 10-minute match that he had the upper hand on. He wasn't getting squashed in either of these matches, right? It'd be one thing if these guys made him mincemeat and won. Even with Seth, he faced a champion, for Christ's sakes, and put up a fight. You know what I mean? I will take that and have him have that sort of, he almost had it, than him facing guys like Fandago and, dudes that are stuck in purgatory doing nothing and beating them. That does nothing for him. Those are forgettable matches. So I think him putting up a fight and being this kid who's learning from the best, and then they can build off a story of that, as opposed to him getting stuck facing all these scrubs for 2 or 3 months and then getting lost, right? At least it can give him a reason to go back to NXT for a bit, and quote unquote brush up on himself in kayfabe, as opposed to him beating main roster guys that are not necessarily main eventers or actually superstars and then getting stuck. That's how I'm looking at it. So yeah, maybe with somebody else I might feel a little bit different, but the way they're doing Neville, this is one of the few times you can book a guy to lose, and he's not gonna lose. He's not gonna lose fans or not being over. People are still gonna cheer him when he comes out next week again if he comes out and surprises.
Oh no,
and you can't do that with everybody. But I don't think this is a guy that people need to worry about him losing right now. He's looking great as he's losing, and he's losing in near finishes. He's not, like I say, he's not getting squashed in any sense of the form. He was beating Dolph for 8 of those 11 minutes.
But that's Dolph. That's the standard Dolph recipe, right?
It is, and I hated the fact that they did that with Dolph, but it still showed that he can't. He's got to find a way to close out these wins. And with a guy like Seth, yeah, they went toe to toe, but he still came up short in the end, and that's okay, because when he does get that one victory, it'll be like he finally turned the corner. It's like a young NBA team who can score 100 points against another veteran NBA team who's known for doing the same, but can't win when it's a minute to go and they're down by 2. You know what I mean? So I think it's okay. It's okay, and I don't think people should be expecting him to go on on a Ryback Goldberg win streak. He'll be okay.
Well, you know what it is. It's like I wouldn't even really say it's the Shield factor where people are expecting every person that comes out of NXT is going to be a dominant force or have like a massive impact, because that's not always the case, as we've seen with Adam Rose, Fandango. Like it's very rare which ones are the ones that really like. Then you go to guys like Bray or the Shield, right? It's hit or miss. But I think with Neville, it's like. It's say like it even goes into say Neville, Sami Zayn, aka El Generico, Kevin Steen, aka Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, aka Fergal Devitt. These are all guys that are huge. Were huge outside of the WWE, like really known, like very really very talented wrestlers. And I guess people are a little bit too defensive over it. I'm not sure.
But there's a difference between Bray Wyatt, the Shield, versus Adam Rose and Fandango. Come on, like those two last two.
Absolutely. Like
the latter two are comedy.
The promo, the way, the booking, the characters. Yeah, it is hard to compare the two. But I'm just saying in general.
But Neville's Neville's different than all of those, because Neville's not even in the middle either, because he's not coming out to these lame intros like Adam Rose and Fandango where it's just a comedy skit, and he's not being booked in these pre-promo segments. Well, actually, the Shield debuted out of nowhere, but he's not being built in any way on that end either. He's coming out as a guy just trying to prove himself, with neither for those groups did at all. Right? Fandango had his little dancing skits at the beginning. People were already laughing at that stuff. Adam Rose, same thing. Bray had all that build up for months or weeks or whatever it was, and the Shield came out of nowhere. So Neville's in that kind of spot where he just come out. He reminds me more of a 1-2-3 kid, if anything,
Gotcha.
which is a young guy coming out here and trying to prove himself. 1-2-3 kid went right up against Bret Hart and had a great showing, and he was fine even though he lost. You know what I mean?
Sure.
No, great.
Like I said, it doesn't bug me too much. But my thing is that I would like to see him in a program with someone so we can really truly see and what's gonna happen with Neville.
True.
That's the thing. Like, because if he's gonna be, I think the issue where people get defensive over it is that we're under our understanding is that with the complete rebrand is he's gonna be someone that's gonna be permanently in the roster. I think people want to see him in a proper schedule, not kind of being floated around and having great matches, and it is a really wonderful introduction to the main show audience. I guess some people are taking it too seriously than others. Like I can agree with you in the sense that each match he looked amazing. You can rate him higher than the guy that won the match, but I can understand where people can be upset by it.
I just feel like it's better to have a guy come in this way and have him come in hot, and then he can't go anywhere. He wouldn't be put in the mid-card title scene with a Daniel Bryan or John Cena. We know that for sure. And he definitely wouldn't be in the main title scene. So what would you do if you had him come in weekly beating other guys? Nothing. He'd just be beating other guys for like...
No, realistically, you're right. For him, like, I think the divisions have some, post-Mania sorting out to do before he really gets thrown into anywhere. Like, I can see him being into the mid-card title situation, but like you said, he will not take the belt from Cena or Daniel Bryan. Like, that will not happen. Like, he's one of those guys that creates the argument of should they bring back the lightweight or the cruiserweight title or something. But
yeah, cool. Well, that led to Sheamus attacking Ziggler and then nailing Neville with the bro kick. So I guess that takes away from what we thought was going to be Bryan and Ziggler at Extreme, or them going into a feud. Looks like it'll be Ziggler and Sheamus now. I really don't even care, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. We know how much you hate Sheamus.
I guess I think him and Dolph will put on a decent match. I just hope it's not him beating Dolph for 13 minutes and then actually I don't even think Dolph's gonna win that match if this is the program for Extreme Rules. I do see Sheamus being the victor to further his sort of run as a heel.
I feel bad.
I do
Dolph,
believe it,
man. Like how do you go?
I do. Here's a guy like
how do you go from winning the Survivor Series, being the sole survivor, having such a big push to have nothing done with you to the point that you're helping Sheamus make his big push for a mid-card title.
I know.
Come on.
I thought we had the up and coming again of Dolph, but I have to stop. Every time they throw me a bone, I'm just gonna throw it back because I know they're not.
Yeah, I know. It's like you get excited thinking something of it, and then
I guess that's it. No stipulation set for that, obviously, and they haven't even booked the match officially yet. I don't think.
SmackDown, there was some talk on it actually.
Oh,
I'm not gonna say it here because it just sounds so ridiculous for a match with Sheamus versus Dolph Ziggler for this kind of stipulation. I don't even want to say it because I have this hope that it will not happen. If it does, it's very, very it's the final straw for me that Vince needs to go into a retirement home, hand the keys over to Triple H because he has no clue what he's doing.
All right, so we'll leave that for another.
Sorry, I have my moments where I need to vent.
No worries. So that brought us to the main event, which couldn't have been any worse, which was basically just a stipulation agreement between Seth Rollins and Randy Orton.
Yeah, I don't get what the couches were there for. That was just random to me, but
yeah. So basically, this reminds me of Shawn Michaels versus Randy, where the super kick was banned, but in this case now it's the RKO being banned.
Yeah, it was nice. It was a nice heel ploy from Rollins.
But then Randy decides to make a stipulation of a steel cage match to avoid interference when steel cage matches traditionally have over 80% interference. So
and even then, for me, if with the steel cage match,
what does that stop?
That's the thing, and the worst part is
from the top and the door.
Unless it's like okay, it should have been a Hell in a Cell match.
And even then, they have the referee get punched in the face or thrown into the door, and some guys taking bolt cutters.
No, exactly. Someone always tries to find a way in, but I don't know.
Why wouldn't Randy just say J&J and anyone is banned from ringside? That's it. That does more than a steel cage.
No, and it's true. And the thing is, when you think about the whole okay, Randy can't do the RKO thing, right? That's only
Yeah,
really important in a pinfall or submission only kind of match. We have a
yeah.
cage match where Randy might be able to leave the cage or, you know what I mean, climb. I can't see Randy climbing the top of the cage or at least maybe going through the door or something. But I don't know, man. I'm a little upset with this one. I
What
like
do you
the no RKO thing, but I think they could have done something better from Randy's side.
what do you think? Do you already have an idea how this match is going to end? Because I've kind of crafted a few
I do
ideas.
actually. I really do. I think it's gonna be for me. I still think I can still see Rollins holding on to the title, but I think this will be where you're gonna see Kane make his final real like screw you to the authority.
Okay.
Whereas like I can picture, you know, I mean, Rollins getting like pulling off the curb stomp and literally crawling to the cage door, you know what I mean, trying to, like the door's open and everything, and Kane's the one that slams the door in Rollins' face for the match to continue. You know what I mean? That's the one angle I'm seeing out of that. But I don't know. I still see Rollins holding on to the title. It just seems way like it just seems such like it just seems way too soon for that title run to end, you know?
Yeah.
What are your predictions so far?
Um, it's skipping my mind right now. But what's the name of the top rope maneuver that Seth does? Like this the
Oh
star press.
wow. It's
There's a name that they actually they refer to it.
was it
His crazy moonsault. His
it's not the Phoenix Splash. It's
oh, that's it.
is it the
That's it.
Phoenix
Yeah,
Splash? Oh wow. Damn, I impressed
that's
myself there.
that's what it's called, right? I'm pretty
Sweet.
sure. Let me just double check. Yeah, the Phoenix Splash. I have a feeling they'll try to do a top cage spot with Seth doing
I can
that,
see him doing that, yeah.
but I think it'll end in Randy catching him in RKO and he loses.
Oh.
So yeah, that I think that would be pretty cool actually. So
So
either
Randy
Seth
Orton losing from
loses, yeah,
disqualification from hitting the RKO in the most
RKO,
epic way
yeah,
possible.
impossible,
My
yeah. That's
God,
why.
Mikey, we're gonna like if that happens, man, like holy crap.
That's how I think it. That's how I think it should end.
I'm just
If it
thinking
doesn't
about
actually,
during, man, but I didn't even go that. I wasn't even thinking that deep for a like for an ending.
that's what
But you
I
know what?
think. I
That's
think
probably the best way to go because then you know what? It's not going to be.
protect you protect.
Yeah, you're protecting Randy, and at the same time you're creating a really great moment to make the fans want more. You know?
Yeah, I think it'd be great, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more cleaner than the Evan Bourne one. But that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I'm hoping for Randy to be
I
like,
think
oh,
it could be a lot cleaner for the sense of look how much more time that
yeah.
Randy's gonna have to be able to do that.
Yeah, so I'm hoping for that. So that's Seth at the top of the cage. Randy's lying down. Crowd's going nuts, expecting Seth to do this. Seth wants to take out Randy instead of jumping off the cage. He kind of turns back around. He's like, screw it. I'm just gonna do it. Goes for it. Randy just like, screw it too. I'm taking you out. Nails him with the RKO anyway. Gets the loss. Doesn't care, and that's that. I'm hoping for that. How I think it will end though, if it's not a dusty finish, it's got to be a dusty finish. But I can see Seth hitting it clean though,
Mhm.
and maybe crawling out with the J&J sort of pulling him out to win. I don't think Randy's winning this at all. This will be it. It won't. I don't think it'll end in a DQ. If it does, I hope it's the way that I said.
Mhm.
But I see Seth winning this, not by pinfall, not by climbing out of the top, but climbing out the door somehow with after hitting that, or if they do see I don't see Randy winning at all, but I do see him hitting the punt at some
Yeah,
point in this
no,
match.
no, they're reintroducing the punt this time. Like it has to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. So we'll definitely get that. Maybe that's the point where J&J interferes because it's still a no disqualification match, I assume.
Technically,
Uh,
yeah.
but I think it'll be fun seeing J&J like climb the cage and all that sort of nonsense. I think it'll be an entertaining match. It always is with those guys, and I guess it's just a finish. The winner I know is going to be Seth. I just don't know how.
Sure. No, that's the thing. I
Other
didn't even
than
want to
what I
jump into
yeah.
that, but yeah. So yeah, so as a whole, you know, what do you really think about Raw last night?
I thought it was bad.
Yeah.
My only three wins from it was the Cena opening match,
Mhm.
the Naomi promo, and Ziggler Neville. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know what, for me it was and something that really upset me this morning was apparently they had a six-man tag main event that I guess didn't wasn't aired on television last night. But you know, you add all of those four pointless matches together, they could have had that six-man tag. Like that was I remember watching the way Raw ended last night, and I swear I was like, oh man, the English crowd, the UK crowd is gonna rip this place apart. So I wasn't that surprised to see that they had somewhat of a dark match with actual like big names. But yeah, I don't know, man. They like all of that time with those short matches. So much more could have been done with that. Like really, what's gonna happen with Fandango, Adam Rose? Like, come on, like what's gonna really go down with these guys?
I don't know. It feels like they're losing steam right now, and I know that they're trying to build the mid card titles up. It just feels like the way everything's being booked right now that people are missing, but they're not. We had John Cena on the show, and we had Seth Rollins, we had Randy Orton, and we didn't have Daniel Bryan. I think that's not helping either. And I read the report today about that he's quote unquote not doing well with his neck again and stuff, and that's why he's being protected in these 6-man tag matches. I really hope that that's not what's happening, but I can see it being legit since he's missed the past couple Raws, right? So him not being there hurts also. I think with Roman Reigns not being involved in anything right now based off what happened, that's lost momentum. You know what I mean? Miz and Mizdow could have essentially carried the show a bit. That's lost momentum. Not carry the show, but carry at least the top of the hour or something. Ryback, obviously, he's stuck in nothing. It's just not good right now.
No, it's true, and it's a real waste of of a lot of talented wrestlers.
Talent.
That for me, like I this is my like one of my points here. It really last night was the case of maybe it is time for them to go back to having the two separate brands. Like I like have superstars strictly to SmackDown, superstars strictly to Raw. Because
if they could stick to it, sure.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that they can.
No, they really can't. Like I think the first time they did it was the absolute best of the best, and never since anytime they did it since is very mediocre. But it's just like what do you do with such a massive locker room and so many different storylines or like that's the thing. Like there's only so many storylines and programs you can create. Like what do you do with some people?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It definitely was a really, really disappointing. And one thing I noticed between the Lucha Dragons, Lucha, between the Fandangoing as JBL was calling it, all excited, getting hot in his cowboy boots, and then Adam Rose is like and it's all the same movement. It's all the same celebration. Like what, like how is like it's the same exact thing. Like come on, like.
The finger pointing.
Yeah, like I never noticed it till they were put on the same show, one after the other. But I don't know, like Fandango or even Adam Rose, they could have easily have been on Superstars or Main Event. Like I don't know, it's really just I don't know.
Regardless,
my hopes from it really has all gone backwards since Raw after Mania. Like absolutely.
Like I understand it's supposed to be a down season, and I get that's usually after Mania and a little bit before SummerSlam. But has it really got to be the month directly after WrestleMania? Like, can't they just like just gain a little bit of momentum, just give us something decent, Extreme Rules, and then sort of tally off a bit? You know what I mean? Like, and maybe that's why they do have to consider an off season.
Yeah, you know what it feels like for me, that it seems as if, especially because when I read the SmackDown spoilers, and both Adam Rose and Fandango were in a match together. So is the WWE trying to like finish off these guys' contracts? Because I did read, and you've seen the article yourself, where there's going to be a lot of cuts to the roster, both on the NXT and main roster side of things. Could you see Fandango and Adam Rose being like the first victims of that?
Yes, totally.
Yeah, I that's the thing, and even the Ascension looks like they could be on the same road as them too as well. Like it just seems.
I mean, there's other people that should be probably devered instead of these guys instead. But the fact is, I wouldn't miss them if they were gone anyway.
No, it's true, absolutely. Like
Fandango beat Jericho and then lost to him the next pay-per-view, and then that was it, or the next night, and then that was it. That he hasn't done anything credible since. And Adam Rose, his biggest feud was with his goddamn bunny. Like I don't understand. He's done nothing, and I hate saying he and him, and it's not them. It's the
booking.
It's booking, right? But I have to refer to them because they're the characters.
Yeah, they're the characters, right?
Yeah. So I don't know, but I guess next week we'll just have to get to Extreme Rules at this point. I don't expect anything big from next week or the Go Home show. When is Extreme Rules? Is it 2 weeks from now? Do we have one more Raw or two more Raws?
I think we have one more Raw.
Yeah, it's April 26th, so we have one more Raw. Yeah, one more. Well, next week's a go home show, so we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, that's it for me on my opinion. Any last words for you?
I just can't wait for Extreme Rules to end and to
Yeah.
see them go fresh at things. Like man, it's really disappointing because you know what, I really got excited after Mania and
Yeah.
after especially Raw after Mania. Like I got really pumped. Like this is the way wrestling should be, and it's just I don't know. It goes back to that case of like the WWE's best years were when they had someone like literally nipping at their heels for the number one spot. So it's I don't know. Hopefully for me, I went on a side note. It's something that I keep going off on every single week. Next week for going home show is when we're gonna see Finn Balor on the main roster. Hopefully,
Yeah.
like that's just
Hopefully.
me trying to be a little more positive. But I don't know, man. It's just
Well, fingers crossed there.
yeah.
Well, let us know what you guys think. Please like, subscribe, comment. We love talking to you guys on Twitter. So for those of you who we haven't spoke to, be sure to add us there on Kayfabe6, and we'll see you in a few days, I guess. Peace.
See ya.